President Biden will make a visit to Israel on Wednesday to show U.S. solidarity. We take a look at what his trip means for the looming ground offensive of Gaza and the intensifying conflict in the Middle East. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff sees North Korea as being linked in many ways to the recent surprise attack by the Palestinian militant group Hamas on Israel, including weapons and tactics. With the grand opening of the Seoul ADEX 2023, South Korea's commander-in-chief vows to bolster its global defense network and upgrade the nation's defense industry so that it holds a competitive edge. It's October 17th, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. Amid escalating conflict in the Middle East, U.S. President Joe Biden is set to travel to Israel on Wednesday. It's aimed at underscoring Washington's unwavering commitment to Israel, and his high-stakes trip will extend to neighboring Jordan and Egypt, among others, as he seeks to ease humanitarian suffering in Gaza. Our Song Yoo-jin starts us off.
U.S. President Joe Biden is set to travel to Israel on Wednesday. That's according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken following his more than 7-hour-long meeting in Tel Aviv with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet.
He's coming here at a critical moment for Israel, for the region, and for the world. And he's coming here to do the following. First, the President will reaffirm the United States' solidarity with Israel and our ironclad commitment to its security.
Shortly after, White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby announced that Biden would also travel to Jordan to meet with King Abdullah II, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Biden's visit comes as fears are growing that the latest flare-up in the Israel-Hamas war could spill into other countries in the region. Tensions have been escalating in the Middle East, with Israel exchanging fire with Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah near its northern border with Lebanon. Iran has issued warnings against Israel's operations in Gaza.
Leaders of the resistance will not allow the Zionist regime to do whatever it wants in Gaza and then go after other resistance groups after it's done with Gaza. Therefore, any preemptive action is possible in the coming hours.
With world leaders such as UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressing the importance of avoiding further regional escalation, experts predict President Biden will also use his visit to avert the war's expansion. Addressing the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza is also on Biden's agenda, where civilians are facing severe shortages of water, electricity, and fuel.
The President will hear from Israel how it will conduct its operations in a way that minimizes civilian casualties and enables humanitarian assistance to flow to civilians in Gaza in a way that does not benefit Hamas.
Biden will also continue his efforts to secure the release of at least 199 hostages held by Hamas. The militant group on Monday released a video showing a 21-year-old Israeli hostage who appeared to be suffering from an arm injury. This marks the first time that Hamas has made public a video of a hostage held in Gaza. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Weapons and tactics used by the Palestinian armed group Hamas appear to be similar to those pursued by North Korea. That's according to Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff, who is looking into any possible links between the two. Our defense correspondent Kim Jae-youl reports.
South Korea's military authorities have reason to believe that the weapons and tactics used by the Palestinian militant group Hamas are linked to North Korea. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, an official from the Joint Chiefs of Staff noted that Hamas has been spotted using a North Korean-produced F-7 rocket. South Korea's military officials said that the F-7 is the name North Korea uses when exporting its RPG-7 rockets overseas. On top of that, North Korea's 122mm multiple rocket launchers have recently been discovered near Israel. The military is also weighing the possibility that North Korea passed on its paragliding tactics to Hamas. Around 260 people lost their lives when Hamas militants paraglided down into a music festival in Israel. And a similar tactic was used by North Korea in 2016 when the regime's special forces demonstrated a surprise attack on a model blue house. The JCS also pointed out that Hamas's tactics involving mass rocket attacks and early morning attacks during a holiday are similar to what it would assess North Korea's tactics would be. This being said, the military says there is a high chance that North Korea would use these tactics to attack South Korea.
Our military is analyzing and evaluating the weapons and tactics used by Hamas. In addition, we are closely monitoring signs from North Korea using joint Seoul-Washington surveillance and reconnaissance assets. Our military maintains a thorough readiness posture against North Korean provocations.
The JCS also assesses that Israel's Iron Dome defense system was effective to some extent, given that 700 out of the 900 rockets fired toward the target area by Hamas were shot down. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
In Beijing, China is hosting a large international summit marking the 10th anniversary of its Belt and Road Initiative. Attention is on a face-to-face meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin amid the Israel-Hamas war and tensions in Northeast Asia. Our Choi Soo-hyung with more.
Starting Tuesday, China is hosting the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing, which will wrap up on Wednesday. The forum also marks the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, which has expanded China's leadership role on the global stage amid its rivalry with the U.S. The BRI aims to bolster economic cooperation along land and sea routes as a second Silk Road, stretching from China to Central Asia and Europe. China has supported the building of infrastructure overseas, which has become a crucial platform for developing high-level cooperation among the countries involved. Representatives from 130 countries and 30 global organizations are expected to participate in the forum, with all eyes on President Xi and his Russian counterpart, Putin. This will mark their second bilateral meeting this year, and their unity against the U.S. is expected to be a central topic of their talks. Following China, Russia is increasing cooperation on the release of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan by banning imports of Japanese seafood. In addition, there is speculation about whether Xi and Putin will send a message about the war between Israel and Hamas. China is pushing for a mediator role and is talking with Russia's foreign minister to coordinate their stances on the war. Meanwhile, South Korean Oceans and Fisheries Minister Cho Seung-hwan will also be in Beijing to attend a separate forum discussing maritime cooperation. Cho will depart for Beijing on Wednesday and meet with Chinese officials during his visit. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
More reports suggest there have been weapons transfers from North Korea to Russia as large cargo ships have reportedly been spotted carrying North Korean weapons, presumably ammunition, to Russia on multiple occasions for use in the war in Ukraine. Lee Si-hoo explains.
According to the Washington Post on Monday, new satellite images show that Russian ships have collected cargo back and forth from North Korea to a Russian military port on multiple occasions over the past 2 months. 2 commercial ships involved previously had not run that particular route prior to August. The White House last week said that North Korea has shipped more than 1,000 containers of weapons to Russia in recent weeks.
We condemn the DPRK for providing Russia with this military equipment, which will be used to attack Ukrainian cities, kill Ukrainian civilians, and further Russia's illegitimate war.
An unnamed official from Seoul's defense ministry confirmed the transport of containers between North Korea and Russia. The official added that the volume of containers is equal to the tens of thousands of shells that Russia needs the most. Seoul's foreign ministry said that weapons exchange with North Korea is a clear violation of the UN Security Council resolution.
It is a serious violation of peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula, and we urge for an immediate halt.
Meanwhile, Pyongyang announced that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is making an official visit on Wednesday and Thursday. Talks may involve Putin's return visit to Pyongyang following Kim's visit to Russia's Far East last month, where they discussed military matters. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
At the United Nations, North Korea has asserted yet again its intentions to advance its nuclear weapons ambitions, alleging a hostile U.S. stance. Jae reports.
During the first committee of the United Nations General Assembly meeting on Monday, North Korea's Secretary for North Korea's permanent mission to the United Nations, Kim Jae-youl, said Pyongyang will not give up its nuclear weapons as it faces continuous threats from the United States. Kim said that the U.S. continues to deploy nuclear assets to the Korean peninsula, which are disguised with claims of being defensive in nature. He also added that the U.S. continues to conduct nuclear weapons tests despite its condemnation of North Korea's nuclear ambitions and has been accelerating a nuclear arms race. Both Seoul and Tokyo condemned Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions, calling for the North to give up its nuclear weapons and return to dialogue. Meanwhile, former U.S. Ambassador to South Korea Harry Harris, during a virtual seminar, called for the U.S. to keep strengthening its extended deterrence commitment to South Korea, as he stressed that North Korea's evolving military threats are far greater than before. Harris said that the North has been doubling down on its nuclear and missile programs under an aggressive nuclear policy stipulated in its constitution. However, the former ambassador said it would be a mistake to redeploy U.S. tactical nuclear arms to the Korean peninsula. Harris, who served from 2018 to 2021, also raised concerns about technological cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow. Jae, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol has pledged to make South Korea's defense industry a global leader in cutting-edge aerospace technology as he attended the opening event of the Seoul International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition. This includes stronger cooperation with other countries. Oh Soo-young explains.
South Korea will strengthen its defense networks around the world as it grows as a leading exporter of cutting-edge military and aerospace technology. That's according to President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday, speaking at the opening ceremony of the 14th Seoul International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition. Yoon said South Korea has transformed from an aid-dependent nation to a leading defense exporter, with ADEX 2023 showcasing the homegrown KF-21 fighter jet, the M-SAM air defense system, as well as tanks, rocket launchers, and other major export items. Describing the defense industry as a national strategic sector for both security and economy, the president vowed to foster a strong industrial ecosystem, particularly in artificial intelligence and digital technology, which are crucial for victory on future battlefields.
군 작전의 AI 디지털 기반을 가속화하고 미래 항공 모빌리티 기술 개발을 위한 정책적 지원을 아끼지 않을 것입니다.
By newly establishing a Korea Aerospace Administration, he said the government would bring together the public and private sectors to help domestic players lead the new space era, with the goal of becoming one of the world's top 5 space tech powers. He noted that his National Security Council established a body to promote defense exports earlier this year and aims to build up a cooperative system globally, sharing South Korea's evolution in the industry with friendly nations.
이제 방산협력은 단순히 무기의 수출을 넘어 장비와 부품 공급, 교육, 훈련, 공동의 연구 개발까지 협력 범위를 확장하고 있습니다.
This year's ADEX features 67 aircraft and 39 pieces of ground equipment based on Korean technology and weapon systems, along with equipment from the US military and the F-22 and FA-18G aircraft. Falling on the 70th anniversary of the Republic of Korea-US alliance this month, the president said the participation of the American military at this year's exhibition proves the overwhelming capacity of the bilateral alliance. South Korea last year hit a record in defense exports, some $17.3 billion, more than doubling the figure from 2021. The government has since designated the sector as one of the country's 12 core export engines, with the aim of ranking among the world's top 4 defense exporters by 2027. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday received the diplomatic credentials of 40 newly appointed foreign ambassadors to South Korea. Greeting them at the Yongsan presidential office, President Yoon met with new ambassadors from the Czech Republic, France, Germany, Kazakhstan, Nicaragua, and Zambia, among others. A new ambassador who conducts official diplomacy on behalf of their country must present a letter of credence to the head of state of the assigned country before carrying out ambassadorial duties. South Korea's foreign ministry has strongly protested Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's decision to send ritual offerings to the controversial Yasukuni Shrine. The ministry spokesperson says the South Korean government regrets Kishida's decision to provide ritual offerings and the visits by his cabinet members to the Yasukuni Shrine on Tuesday, which has the remains of Class A war criminals interred there. The foreign ministry called on Japan's leadership to responsibly face up to its wartime history and show genuine remorse for the country's past aggressive actions. Prime Minister Kishida has been sending ritual offerings since 2021, but has not visited the shrine in person. The country's import and export costs last month have jumped due to oil price increases. Fluctuations in global oil prices stemming from the Israel-Hamas war are deepening financial woes. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young explains what measures to expect.
South Korea's imports and export costs rose for the third consecutive month in September, mainly due to a rise in global oil prices. According to the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, import costs jumped 2.9% month-on-month as reduced oil output pushed its price up. Export costs also increased 1.7% compared to the previous month, mainly led by higher petroleum product prices. The central bank said import and export costs in October could also be affected by the Israel-Hamas war, adding that it was keeping an eye on fluctuating oil prices. Yoon, a professor of consumer studies at Inha University, said rising concerns over price fluctuations were putting a dent in consumers' wallets.
When global oil prices are volatile, the cost of all factory facilities increase, leading to fluctuations in the prices of goods. Dining prices can also be affected. For instance, as the operating costs of greenhouses rise, there is a significant possibility that the prices of vegetables cultivated within them will also increase.
During a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo urged relevant ministries to make efforts to ease overall prices, citing rising economic uncertainty amid the conflict in the Middle East. The same day, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho held a meeting with relevant ministers to discuss ways to do this.
Although fuel prices last week dropped for the first time in 14 weeks, inflationary uncertainty has risen again due to the Israel-Hamas war, which has caused significant fluctuations in global oil prices. To prevent price hikes from taking advantage of the increased volatility in oil prices, the government will strengthen on-site inspections. We will make a serious effort to limit rises in food prices.
Chu also reiterated the government's decision to extend the country's fuel tax cut, which was announced on Monday. Professor Yi said despite the concern over a fall in national tax revenue, the extension was crucial to ease the burden on people's daily consumption as well as that for businesses. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
South Korean sports administrator Kim Jae-youl has been elected as a member of the International Olympic Committee. His candidacy was ratified on Tuesday during the 141st IOC session in Mumbai. 8 new members were elected on the same day after being recommended as nominees by the IOC's executive board in early September to make a total of 107. Kim is now the 12th Korean person to join the committee and the 3rd who is currently an active member. He was also elected as the first non-European president of the International Skating Union last year since its foundation in 1892. Meanwhile, President Yoon congratulated Kim and said he wishes that he can play a big role in making a better world through sports. The South Korean movie starring actor Ma Dong-seok, The Roundup, No Way Out, has been voted as the best Asian film and won the Focus Asia People's Choice Award at the Sitges International Fantastic Film Festival in Spain. The movie series started in 2017 with The Outlaws, and the first sequel, The Roundup, won the very same award last year, which goes to Asian-produced films. The third in the series, The Roundup, No Way Out, was released in May. Just like others in the series, the film has been a box office hit at home too, with over 10 million people going to see it. Up next, we explore Korea's recent advances with regard to a new hydrogen engine technology, which uses 100% hydrogen as a fuel source to curb carbon emissions. Yoon tells us more.
Hydrogen cars are considered eco-friendly as they run on hydrogen fuel cells and don't emit carbon dioxide. However, current commercialized hydrogen cars face limitations, such as the lack of charging stations and the low durability of the hydrogen fuel cell system. To overcome such drawbacks, domestic researchers have succeeded in changing existing passenger cars that run on fossil fuels to run on hydrogen. Because the newly developed hydrogen engines use existing engines, it has greater advantages over the hydrogen fuel cells in terms of durability, performance, and safety. And using carbon-free hydrogen fuel means CO2 emissions can be reduced by 99% and fine dust by 90%, while the associated ultra-lean combustion process minimizes nitrogen oxide emissions.
One of the traits of the technology that we've developed is ultra-lean combustion. Using more air than normally needed for hydrogen combustion, the technology allows more stable combustion and thermal efficiency.
The research team also explained that this newly developed hydrogen engine could add competitiveness when applied to large heavy-duty trucks or electricity-generating engines.
The developed hydrogen engine converts the fossil fuels currently in use into carbon-free hydrogen fuel. This is significant in the context of the technology being immediate and economical as an automotive power source.
An obstacle that remains in the way of hydrogen engine cars from becoming commercialized more widely is the need for more hydrogen charging stations, as well as the production of hydrogen itself. Yoon, Arirang News.
Today, Seoul recorded its coldest morning of the season so far, with lows of 7.5 degrees Celsius. Morning conditions will get a tad warmer tomorrow, but big contrast in daily temperatures will persist. Changsu and Daegwallyeong will see bigger fluctuation in daily readings, with a difference of 15 degrees or even more. When temperatures fluctuate this much, our bodies become more vulnerable to viruses. Make sure to dress in layers and take extra care of your health. In between Thursday and Friday, most regions will be under rainy spells. Showers will start from central regions on Thursday, and they will gradually spread nationwide. After the rain, temperatures will take a steep dive, bringing brisker weather conditions across the nation. Sunny spells will dominate nationwide. Seoul will start off at 10 degrees Celsius. Highs will be jumping significantly for most regions. Seoul will get up to 21 degrees, Gwangju 23, Gyeongju will be warm at 25 degrees. For the latter half of the week, morning temperatures will plummet to single figures. A cold snap will prevail this weekend with lows of 4 degrees Celsius in Seoul. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is News Center for tonight. Thanks for watching. A panel session coming up.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Busan, Korea is already reaching the entire world, like ocean waves that travel far and wide. It's Busan, the perfect World Expo city, transforming our world, navigating toward a better future.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Good Morning Seoul.
And we're broadcasting to you live from Seoul, South Korea. This is where you can get
interactive radio that you can watch and listen to. Enjoy Radio Clock with me.
Connecting Korea and the world, Arirang Radio. It's our 20th anniversary of our station. For you, wherever you may be, and for 20 years like a friend, as a messenger, and as a partner. We have shared countless happy memories, and this might just be another beginning. As you've done for the past 20 years, and for the next 20 to come, join us on Arirang Radio. Always Korea, always Arirang Radio.
Loved and watched around the world. We want to make more animations to reach more children. Traveling time and space. Developing adventure and curiosity. Infinite creativity and hope. We want our children to grow up to be happy. Animation, watched by children all around the world. So that joy can be felt when our animation is watched. This is the reason we make animation and share with the world. K-Animation, befriending children all over the world.
Welcome. 엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Hello everyone, it's Tuesday and you're watching Within the Frame. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. Ever since the Palestinian militant group Hamas attack on October 7th, tensions in the Middle East have been escalating. In response to Hamas attacks that killed more than 1,400 people in Israel, Tel Aviv has been continuing its week-long aerial bombardment campaign of the Gaza Strip. Worldwide efforts are being taken, including U.S. President Joe Biden's scheduled visit to Israel soon. But the impact of such a war is already affecting the globe. The planned summit between President Yoon and UAE counterpart has already been delayed, and authorities are bracing for a surge in oil prices, which should affect the Korean economy. We first invite Dr. Baek Seung-hoon, a researcher at the Institute for Middle Eastern Studies from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, to ask about impact on diplomacy. Dr. Baek, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us, Doctor. Now, first question. The Israel-Hamas conflict has amplified the ominous North Korean presence on the Korean peninsula. A Joint Chiefs of Staff official even assessed that Hamas is believed to be directly or indirectly linked to North Korea in various areas. What do you think of this view?
I believe the relation with Hamas and North Korea, direct relations are kind of like too far-fetched, because yes, the reason why Hamas is using North Korean weaponry system is because North Korea has a close tie with Syria and also a ILGC, which is Iranian government, Iranian Revolution Corps. So there are possibility that North Korean weapon system and weapon might spill into a Hamas through that channel. But currently, there's small evidence that there are direct channel or direct relation with North Korea and Hamas are less likely.
All right, I see. So direct relationship between North Korea and Hamas could be considered too far-fetched. Now, Dr. Baek, what we are concerned about the most is the possibility that North Korea could use Hamas's attack methods for a surprise attack on South Korea. What are the chances of this?
I mean, it is so obvious, because if there are a warfare happens between the agent that has discrepancies on their military capability, there's always possibility that this asymmetry warfare could happen, like guerrilla warfare, proxy warfare, using drone or using the chemical weapons and all that. Using unconventional weapon system could be always possible for the asymmetry warfare. And we all know that North Korea and South Korea has significant asymmetry of power in terms of ammunition and military weaponry system, etc., etc. So yes, after witnessing how Hamas efficiently maneuver the Iron Dome, the mid-range missile defense system, and how they use this unconventional strategy to what do we call, overcome this security forces of IDF, really affect on North Korea by seeing, even though there's a symmetry of military the capability, they could successfully strike at the South Korea, although they have what do we call, the more strong military capability. So of course, North Korean government or military will gonna thoroughly see how this surprise attack was successfully carried out by the Hamas. So yes, there is always a possibility of this strategies for asymmetry warfare. Yes.
All right, I see. So to sum up, there's also always possibility for North Korea to use unconventional attack methods like Hamas. I see. Now, Dr. Beck, meanwhile, the president of the United Arab Emirates postponed his visit to South Korea amid rising conflict in the region. And the presidential office said the UAE's investment commitments of $30 billion would not be affected. What are the details of this?
Yes, 3 days ago, on the 14th of October, both countries successfully concluded the negotiation for a comprehensive economic partnership agreement. I mean, this achievement was reached in just 2 years and 6 months since the negotiation began in April 2021. Notably, the United States, Japan, and European Union have not yet concluded the FTAs or SEPA agreement with the UAE, so which is expected to us that it significantly enhance our competitiveness of export. So under this South Korea-UAE SEPA, both countries will open their market to a high degree. And more than 90% of our products, the tariff of our 90% of products will gonna lessen our tariff within 10 years. And we're gonna have no tax between these two country products. And for South Korean side, because South Korea imports about $9.2 billion worth of crude oil annually from UAE, the elimination of 3% tariff can contribute to stabilizing supply chain. But also, since we import crude oil and refine the crude oil to resell in various form of other chemical, it will give us our product the price competitiveness in global market. So that's the thing that we should look in. And particularly significant is in the inclusion of supplementary agreement related to energy and resource cooperation, which had previously been excluded from SEPA agreement that the U.S. concluded with any other country. So this is expected to accelerate our cooperation in renewable energy, hydrogen, and carbon capture and utilization and storage, well known as a COS CCUS, which is one of the main agenda within the era of carbon neutrality.
I see. So there was definitely significant development between the ties between South Korea and UAE. But Dr. Beck, though PO said, the presidential office said the latest pledge about the investment is unaffected, there are still some reports say President Yoon's sales diplomacy inevitably had to face some obstacles, given that the U.S. president was set to attend defense trade show ADEX and also specify certain cooperative efforts in the energy and defense sectors. What impact do you expect this war to have on President Yoon's sales diplomacy overall regarding this region?
So you mean the current war and what will be the impact on our sales? I wish I would be, but I'm not a wizard with a crystal ball, so I don't know how this the conflict and the Israel and Hamas warfare will going to lead. But what I could say is that these Israel-Hamas war are the impact of Israel-Hamas will, I think, in current situation is quite limited because United States are doing their best to restrain this Israel-Hamas conflict as a limited war. That's why Blinken has reached out for Wang Yi, and they have sent their the aircraft carrier in Mediterranean Sea to control and manage this warfare. And as an expert and the entrepreneur in the field are kind of a bit worried because they have witnessed what Ukraine and Russia warfare had led to the global market and etc. But the problem is the reality is this. I mean, the Gaza Palestinian, they are all caught up from global value chain. So the impact of Gaza to global market is limited. And also for Israel cases, I know Israel only has 9 million population there, so their market is not a big market. But yeah, they do have some kind of technology, so the war might have an influential on the niche market, but in the global wise, the impact of this warfare won't be that massive. So the global market of financial market, interest rate, unemployment rate, and oil prices are there's no significant change because of the after the warfare. So the market already kind of reacted to what is happening, and they through the process. So I don't think it's, for example, Ukraine was the what do we call the field that was one of the country that produced a lot of like crops, and the Russia is a energy country who export natural gas and oil. So compared to that of the Ukrainian-Russian war, this Hamas-Israel warfare has less limited impact in global market. So I don't think there will be an obstacle, but I don't believe it will be massive on like preventing the Yoon's administration, the diplomacy of Middle East on sales diplomacy on the Middle East.
All right, I see. So it could have impact, but it will be quite limited. I see. Now, Dr. Baek, we are already witnessing two major wars, the war in Ukraine involving Russia and the Israel-Hamas conflict. Now, how should South Korea position itself in dealing with these conflicts?
I think I have to say, since it's, I think, I know it sounds very dull and insignificant, but what we could do is now is just play our role in international community. So we're going to support Israel for condemning Hamas for their ill behavior, but also we have to support the people of Palestinians. So since there will be a lot of refugees created by this warfare, so we have to be very supportive on aiding the Palestinian refugee, but also stand aside with Israel on condemning Hamas. I think that is what we could do in this moment. And yes, I think that is the diplomatic, the stance that we could take on this moment.
All right, I see. We need to play our own role. Now, Dr. Baek, before I let you go, I'd like to ask you several issues regarding this conflict. So Saudi Arabia and Israel tried to normalize ties, but as the conflict between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas escalated, these plans have apparently been put on ice. And some say intention behind Hamas's attacks is related to this as well. How do you see this?
Yes. Yes, I mean, it's very, we have to go back to a little bit of history to understand all this, like diplomatic, the diplomatic behavior. But like, let's phrase this. I mean, the Israel-Palestine peace process has a basic principle, which is two-state solution. So that's what international communities have kind of like searched for. But after Trump administration came into power, this principle has changed, which that sums up with the Abraham Accord. So two-state solution is that if Israel return back the Palestinian, the land that they took over after the Arab-Israeli war, then Palestinian and Arab were going to give back the peace to the Israel. But after Trump administration came, the land for peace principle has changed to peace for peace principle, which means, yes, let's forget about the land. I mean, it's very difficult because all the players doesn't want to return this land, and we don't know how to do it. So let's just first build a peace through economic cooperation joint. And if the economic cooperation happens, then we're going to build up on peace through there. But this kind of really hardly kind of give a what we call the threat to the Hamas and other Palestinian agents, because it means, oh, we might have lost our chance to retry back our land because the United States and other countries are doing a different method to build a so-called peace process. And Saudi Arabia was kind of the first rejected this, saying that we will stick to the land for peace, not the peace for peace process. But because the arduous work of Biden, Saudi Arabia was tilting toward to accept and become a part of Abraham Accord. But this Hamas, the attack and this Israel-Hamas warfare kind of bring a halt to this process. So yes, like what you said, it is the ice on the diplomatic process, but in the perspective of a United States. But for Saudi Arabia, the country who always been supportive on two-state solution, it kind of give a more favorable condition for Saudi Arabia to play their game. So in this situation, Saudi Arabia will wait and see, and to see, okay, now in this situation, I cannot go and participate at Abraham Accords. But Saudi Arabia will going to wait to see what Biden can bring to them. And if they see it is much beneficial, then they'll go a little bit further to be part of the Abraham Accord. So it kind of, in Saudi Arabian perspective, it's bringing more favorable environment for them to choose between whether they're going to join the Abraham Accord or they're going to just wait and see and make some more leverage on to see what United States could give them for in the trade-off of like participating that Abraham Accord.
All right, I see. It's quite interesting to hear from the Saudi Arabia's point of view. Now, that's all the questions we have for you for now. Thank you, Dr. Beck, for your insights on how this conflict in the Middle East region might affect Seoul's diplomatic efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, as we have said earlier, diplomacy is not the only area South Korea needs to consider. It is highly likely this war is going to have much more impact on the economy. And thus, we invite Professor Kim Jae-youl from Ewha Women's University to discuss this. Welcome, Professor Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Now, Professor, first of all, there are Korean companies located close to conflict, and they're worried about the potential business fallout. And not just those there, but also businesses that mainly export to the Middle East region are concerned about the war escalation. How serious are such issues?
Korean companies doing businesses in Israel region are closely monitoring the Israel-Hamas conflicts as deadly clashes go on in the country. Until now, fortunately, no serious damage to Korean businesses has been reported yet. But if the situation gets worse, Korean staff are ready to be evacuated. The two representative Korean corporations, Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motor, have larger businesses in Israel. And Israel is an important sales management hub that distributes their products to Middle East regions. Samsung Electronics runs 2 research centers and a sales corporation in Israel. It says 100% of its local employees have been switched to remote work for the sake of their safety. Hyundai Motor and its sister company Kia Motor are also deeply involved in Israel's auto market as the best and second best selling car brands there. No damage of cars exported from Korea has been reported yet at the dealership. Other Korean corporations like LG Electronics are also converting to telecommuting in Israel.
I see. It's quite nice to hear that there wasn't major damage reported up until now, and I hope that continues. Now, Professor Kim, there are also growing concerns over the need to manage the supply chain for specific materials. South Korea is highly dependent on Israel. What kind of supply disruptions might we have to face, and is there a way to tackle this?
Regarding timely supply of parts and natural resources, the number one concern goes to crude oil. Korean economy relies on the Middle East for nearly 70% of its oil supply. So along with Japan, this is one of the largest dependency on Middle East oil. So far, the war in Israel gets, as the war in Israel gets longer, one of the largest victims could be Korean economy. The Strait of Hormuz, a major route transporting oil and gas to Korea, has remained intact despite the recent clashes. But the geopolitical situation can got worse anytime in the Strait of Hormuz if Iran decide to get involved in Israel war. In addition, Korean export and imports from Eurozone take a route of Suez Canal. So if Suez Canal region is seized by military action, the supply channel with Eurozone will get stuck, as we have seen in a stranded cargo ship caused maritime traffic chaos in the Suez Canal a year ago. Korean government and industry make an all-out effort to prevent the Israel-Hamas conflicts from affecting Korean supply route.
I see. So the biggest worry is about crude oil. Now, Professor, what's more concerning is that this rise in oil prices could also worsen inflation, right? To what extent would this affect inflation in South Korea?
The international oil price was rising seriously even before the Israel war. So this war can accelerate the rise of oil price in international market. As we talked about, there is no serious impact on oil productions and deliveries from Israel war yet. But the situation is very much fragile depending on other Middle East countries' actions on the war. Most of the market analysts point out that Iran's possible intervention in the war can change both of oil production and safety of major transporting routes like the Strait of Hormuz. According to Bloomberg's recent survey, without Iran's intervention, international oil price is expected to rise less than $5 per barrel. But as the worst scenario, if Iran takes part in the war, oil price will be skyrocketed above $130 per barrel. So to summarize, the Israel war itself gives a stronger pressure on Korean inflation by raising oil price.
I see. So the rise in oil prices would mainly depend on Iran's participation in the war, I guess. Now, Professor Kim, shifting gears a little bit here, volatility in the foreign exchange market also needs to be monitored as cash flow over to the safe haven dollar. There are worries that this conflict will affect the $1 exchange rate and make the won depreciation more serious. How do you see this? And if volatility does get high, how should South Korean authorities tackle this?
Basically, foreign exchange market has uncertainty. So when uncertainty goes up, there goes stronger dollars, demands for dollars, which is a safe asset. And one of the most uncertain phenomena would be the war. Foreign exchange market is already hit seriously by Ukraine war. And we have additional impact that increases the value of US dollar from the war in Israel. And given U.S. Fed's 5.5% base rate, Bank of Korea is not likely to raise its key interest rate above 3.5%. Therefore, stronger dollar or higher $1 exchange rate will be continued as wars in both Ukraine and Israel go on. And interest rate gap between U.S. and Korea is not likely to decrease. For Korean government and Bank of Korea, the only solution of stabilizing exchange rate would be raising domestic interest rate. But thanks to declining domestic economy, it would be very difficult to hike the base interest rate this time.
Right, I see. So I believe there will be high chances that BOK is going to freeze the rate for the upcoming rate-setting meeting on Thursday. Now, Professor Kim, I believe this will be our last question. What also matters is possible market turbulence. Many are worrying about capital flows in stocks. How do you see the market?
As we talked about, the war in Israel is an important additional risk factor to global financial market. And in global market standards, Korean stock market is still, part of emerging market, which is relatively riskier place to invest. Recently, a market consensus that Korea is becoming less attractive to foreign investors is rising. The uptrend $1 exchange rate, driven by concerns over a sustained high interest rate in the United States, appears to have negative impact foreign investor sentiment. This has been further exacerbated by ongoing conflicts between Israel and Hamas, leading them to gravitate towards safe haven assets. Foreign investors posted a net outflow of more than $1.4 billion in Korea's securities market in September. And September marked the second consecutive month of net outflow of foreign investors.
All right, I see, Professor Kim. Well, that are all the questions I have. Thank you, Professor Kim, for your time and insights. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that's all for Within the Frame tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요.
저는 온라인 스마트폰에서 노출을 주고